It's time for Come and Talk It with your host, Michael Cargill, brought to you by Texas Law Shield. Over the last decade, Michael has championed and supported the rights of law-abiding Texans to own and use firearms. He is the owner of Central Texas Gun Works, a veteran of the United States Army, and has achieved national exposure in such prestigious media outlets such as Forbes Magazine, Fox Business News, CNN Money, AOL, BBC World News, Huffington Post, and the New York Times. Cargill vigorously defends lawful gun ownership in this country without regard to party politics. And now, here's Michael Cargill.
This current administration is doing nothing but walking into gun stores, mom and pop gun stores, going after the simple little small minor paperwork errors that people are making and trying to shut those gun stores down permanently who've been in existence for decades. And what we're doing is by bringing this lawsuit, we're saying, you know what, you need to stop that. What Congress says this is what you're supposed to do. There are a set of laws there and they should follow those laws, not step outside those boundaries. And so we're trying to put them back in those boundaries and say this is enough. It's impossible for anyone to do what we do and not make any mistakes at all. You get people that walk into the gun store to fill out a 4473, which is the firearms transaction record. There's 100 ways a person can mess up this form, if not more than that. There are 100 different inputs that you actually put on the form. Even customers make mistakes when it comes to their name, their middle name or their first name. They reverse it. On that little box that says county, they put country. That does not mean that that person is going to get handed a firearm and they're not supposed to. They're not a prohibited person. And so their license should not get revoked just for that simple little minor mistake. I'm actually getting phone calls from gun stores all around the country, as far as like Oregon, as close as Houston. You're talking mom and pop gun stores. Grandparents, great-grandparents have owned this store, and all of a sudden now, ATF comes in and inspect them, find a little paperwork error. Maybe they've made the same type of error because they didn't catch it themselves, and they're wanting to shut them down. And this is the only way that I can help them is by filing a lawsuit, kind of being on the offensive instead of the defensive. I think we're assisting all the gun stores in the country in getting the ATF back into the box it need to be put back into. I'm so grateful that I was able to sit down and talk with TPPF. This organization is the one organization that I thought would actually stand up for Texans and stand up for all Americans in the United States and fight the federal government when they're overstepping their bounds.
Good idea.
No, we do not.
We are the armed attorneys. Today we are talking about a massive boating incident that caused the residents, all the private gun owners in 4 different counties, to lose all their firearms, ammunition, and accessories. You won't want to miss this. But before we begin, show your support for the Second Amendment by hitting that like button. And today we're talking about an innovative solution, out of the state of Texas. This is House Continuing Resolution number 54, notifying the federal government of the tragic loss of firearms, accessories, and ammunition of all private gun owners in Hunt, Hopkins, and Van Zandt counties, and possibly other counties, in a series of alleged boating accidents. Now, this is a, we'll say, innovative, right?
This is very creative.
First of its kind continuing resolution out of the state of Texas, filed by Representative Brian Slayton. I think this is, I like it.
You know what? It is very funny. It is very funny. So we're going to read it to you, and then we're going to talk about boating accidents and what to do and not to do when the government actually comes knocking at your door. So here we go. Whereas the Texas legislature respectfully notifies the federal government of a series of alleged boating accidents that occurred across Hunt, Hopkins, and Van Zandt, and possibly other counties, on January 10th, 2023, which involved all private gun owners. Amazing. That's a lot of boats.
That's a lot of boats.
In these counties, and thankfully allegedly resulted in no injury or loss of life. And whereas due to the series of alleged boating accidents, the Texas legislature also wishes to notify the federal government of the alleged loss of all firearms, accessories, and ammunition owned by all private gun owners in the counties of Hunt, Hopkins, Van Zandt, and possibly other counties. And whereas, as a result of the alleged events, the Texas legislature wishes to inform the federal government, the current presidential administration, and any future administration that any attempt to buy back, confiscate, or register some or all firearms, accessories, or ammunition from private gun owners in the counties of Hunt, Hopkins, Van Zandt, and possibly other counties will not be possible or necessary, and be it resolved. And then we're restating all of these things. So, very funny, very clever.
Yeah. This is a massive boating incident.
It is a massive boating incident. All right. So I think we should talk about lying to law enforcement, and we should talk about federal supremacy.
Yeah, I'll start with this. The boating joke, very funny. Very
very
funny
good.
among the community. If you were to be communicating with law enforcement, let's say ATF agent comes, knocks on your door, and you say, oh, they were lost in a boating accident, do we think that's a good idea?
No, we do not, because there are all sorts of criminal offenses for providing false or misleading information that's material to law enforcement investigation. Also, it just we think it's funny, but a jury of random peers who is going to take this very seriously, plus the judge, plus the federal prosecutor, they think it's funny.
Yeah, and the other thing that comes up, it's the same thing when we have slang for drugs. If the police bust a guy who's like, I was selling ice skates, it's like, that's meth. They know the slang. I mean, this isn't going to be news to them, and they'll be able to prove up the slang through an expert or through maybe some of the agents involved have this kind of personal knowledge of the community and how things are discussed. But I would say, importantly, it kind of sets, if in a real scenario, interacting with law enforcement, I mean, it does establish that maybe you're going to be dishonest. And let's say you weren't committing a crime, and then a jury, they persuade a jury that you're being dishonest. I don't like it.
No, I don't like it. So it is always the best policy to say nothing, but do not be dishonest. Also, let's talk about federal supremacy.
Sure.
Because yes, the state of Texas, God bless you, Brian Slayton, can notify the federal government all day. Don't come trying to register things here. There's nothing here. There's nothing left. Just like our Second Amendment sanctuaries, right? We can say, you can't enforce your gun laws here all day long. Can the federal government still come, investigate, enforce everything that's on the books? Yes.
Yeah, as a practical matter, yes. I mean, it's the equivalent of the UN sending a letter to someone.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't mean, it doesn't have full faith and force like we maybe want it to, but I think it's it's creative.
The legislative session isn't always fun.
Yeah.
So, it's nice to have something a little fun, breaks up the red flag laws and the trying to strip rights away from 18 to 20-year-olds that's going to populate our next 4 months.
Yeah, but I'm interested to see what folks have to say. Do y'all think this moves the ball forward? Do you think it's neutral? Do you think this hurts the movement? I really am interested to see what folks have to say, but we hope you enjoyed the discussion. If you did, consider subscribing, hitting that like button, and help us fight the anti-2A algorithm by sharing this video.
And let us know in the comments whether you've lost your firearms in a boating accident. Until next time, we're the Armed Attorneys.
Peace, this is Maj Toure. You're listening to Come and Talk It Radio with Michael Cargill.
I'm a U.S. Army veteran with a strong sense of duty and respect for our system of government. After 12 years, I was honorably discharged and decided I would fulfill the American dream of entrepreneurship and open up a gun shop in Austin, Texas. At my shop, I teach people to be law-abiding and how to safely use their firearm. On page 46, going to talk about Penal Code Section 46.02. The day that ban went into effect, I went into my local ATF in Austin and turned over my bump stock because I'm a law-abiding citizen. But I wasn't going down without a legal fight. So that's why I reached out to NCLA.
NCLA is representing Michael Cargill because federal agencies do not have the power to rewrite statutes. Bump stocks are not machine guns. If Congress wants to change the law and ban bump stocks, it certainly can do so. But we can't have the executive branch rewriting a statute and putting people in jail for up to 10 years.
It's a problem because, this government agency has said, you know what, something that is legal is now illegal, and we're going to confiscate it from you, and we're not going to compensate you for it, and you're going to become a criminal.
The goal of our case here is to tell the ATF that they can't get away with this kind of administrative lawmaking. This isn't constitutionally permissible, and this goes against everything that our nation was founded on.
The bump stock ban turned innocent law-abiding citizens into criminals overnight, even though they were compliant with the statute. And that's not right.
This case is not about where you stand on bump stocks. It's about the rule of law. It's about whether an agency can rewrite a statute and turn a law-abiding citizen into a criminal. If the ATF can ban bump stocks, any agency can ban anything.
Welcome back to Come and Talk It. And now here's Michael Cargill.
Good day, Austin, Texas, the live music capital of the world. Let's praise the Lord and pass the ammunition. All right, so the first video you saw there, you heard or saw, whether you're on YouTube, was our next big lawsuit that we filed against the ATF, the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. And the purpose of that lawsuit is to help out FFL dealers around the country, around the nation. So what's happening is the ATF under the Biden administration has decided to go after gun stores and try to shut them down just for simple little paperwork errors that they make in the gun store. And like I said on the video there, like when you walk into the gun store and you fill out a 4473, the firearm transaction record, and you make a mistake on that form in the gun store, if they don't catch that mistake, then the administration's using that, to say, hey, you're not in compliance, and they're shutting the gun stores down. They're going a lot further than what the law actually says, because FFL, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms really is supposed to assist gun stores. The gun store is supposed to be the database for the ATF for law enforcement. And so, if we're making some type of mistake, they're supposed to come in, correct us, guide us, so that way we don't make that mistake again. But instead, rather than just correct, the mistake, they're actually shutting the gun stores down. And we're talking gun stores that have been in business for years, mom and pop gun stores. These people are not trying to transfer firearms to a prohibited person. It's just a simple little error. And I don't know, man, if you applied that same standard to our hospitals, a hospital makes a mistake, then you know what? We would lose every single hospital in this country. And if you apply that same standard across the board with any industry that's out there. So that's why I'm saying this is crazy. They're going way above and beyond what the statute actually says. And so that's why I kind of want to be on the offensive with this stuff, because we won the bump stock lawsuit against the Department of Justice and Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. And so what stops the ATF from walking into the gun store and deciding to inspect me and finding little errors and trying to shut me down because I filed, as payback for us winning this case? So what I decided to do is play a little chess move there and actually file a lawsuit against them in anticipation of them doing that. And so um, I'm trying to also protect all gun stores that are out there. And like I said in the video, I get calls from gun stores from all around this country, talking about some of the things that we're doing and talking about what they're facing, in their state, in their city. And so this is the only way that I can help them. By helping myself, I can help them, and in hopes that we win this lawsuit uh, against the ATF, and we push this to the Supreme Court as well. All right, and then there's another one that I can't tell you about just yet, that we're working on right now as well. And there's another one that I can't tell you about just yet that I'm working on, against the state of Texas, because I'm going to file a lawsuit against the state of Texas, and I'm still working on that as well, trying to perfect it, because I want to make sure that we have the correct attorney law firm that's going to handle this case, because we want to go after the state of Texas. So we'll see how this stuff plays out. Uh, a lot of moving parts, a lot of things going on, and the bump stock lawsuit, that's going to be the most important so far. And surprisingly enough, the ATF missed their deadline last week, one of two deadlines. Okay, so
Come on, man.
the first deadline was February 27th, is when the ATF had to appeal the Cargill v. Garland case to the Supreme Court, the bump stock case. And they did not appeal on February 27th, so that means that on February 28th, the Fifth Circuit released their mandate, meaning that the Fifth Circuit says, hey, lower court, here's our ruling on the Cargill v. Garland bump stock case. Carry out our wishes. Go forth and do great things. So now we go back to the lower court where they're supposed to carry out the wishes. Now, what's probably going to happen is the ATF is going to try to do some, little trial diversion here, and they're going to try to throw some things in there. But I have three things that I'm requesting that my attorneys ask the judge to take care of for us. And I can't tell you those three things just yet. I might be able to tell you next week, but I want my attorneys to ask for three things, and it's very, very important. This is all another chess play as well. And so we'll see how that stuff plays out. Right now, and then, like I said, next week, I think I'll be able to tell you, what those three things are, because I should know by Monday or Tuesday of this week, and then we'll be able to, let the world know. All right. So, and then the next thing I want to talk about, there's so many court cases that are going on, and that is the brace ban. So now there are a lot of cases that have been filed against the Department of Justice, Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms for their brace ban. Now, all these cases, every single one of them are using the Cargill v. Garland case as precedents, as case law, to say, hey, this is why we should win this case, because hey, ATF can't create a right law. And I'm pretty sure that by April, right around April the 1st, April Fools, whatever, the beginning of April, we should have a stay by some judge in at least the Fifth Circuit area in Texas. Some judge should come out at least by the beginning of April and grant a stay, is what I'm actually predicting here. And they're going to use the Cargill v. Garland case to do that as well. So we'll see what happens there. So hopefully by April, you'll be able to breathe a little relief there for a little while. And then in hopes that by April the 6th or 7th, the ATF would have appealed the Cargill v. Garland case to the Supreme Court. And because right now, they're contemplating, they're trying to figure it all out, how they're going to do this, trying to figure out what's going to happen. So we're going to play a hand, and then we'll see, what hand they have, and then we'll play another hand. So, and I'm pretty, there are only so many options out there, and so we know all the different options. So I guess they're just waiting to see if we're aware of the different options that are out there. So we'll see. It's all a game. And so the goal is to get this case to the Supreme Court, the Cargill v. Garland case, so that it can be legal precedents for all 50 states of the United States, not just Texas, Louisiana, or Mississippi. And so currently, right now, only in Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, ATF cannot create law, and bump stocks are now being sold in Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. Now, wow, that's a lot of stuff going on there.
So much stuff. That's why you're tuning in to Come and Talk It, so you can figure it all out.
That's right. There's a lot of stuff going on, a lot happening around the country, and there's so much I want to talk to you guys about today. I know we're probably gonna run out of time here. There's so many great things in that boating accident, that video from the armed attorneys. That's the Texas U.S. Law Shield attorneys, the armed attorneys. There's an elected official that decided to uh, sponsor a bill before the Texas legislature that basically says that in his county and a couple of different other counties that he represents, that their firearms were involved in a boating accident. And so, and the way the attorneys explain this is you can't lie to law enforcement. You can't lie to a judge. So it's best you not answer that question at all. You can't just go out there and say, "Hey, yeah, my guns were in a boating accident." If ATF comes a knocking at your door, you can get in big trouble and prosecuted for lying to law enforcement. So don't ever do that. But this is, to me, this is all smoke and mirrors. And they're playing games. Ha ha ha! It's funny that an elected official has a funny bill that says, "Hey, in my counties here, all of our guns were involved in a boating accident." Ha ha ha! That's funny. Well, to me, it's not funny. This is not a game here because the federal government, they're moving, and unless we get some cover from our elected officials, only recourse we have is in the court system. So I don't have faith in elected officials here in Texas. They play too many games. Texas Republicans are in control of the governor's house. Texas Republicans are in control of the House. Texas Republicans are in control of the Senate. They can get whatever passed they want to pass. They're without a doubt, without a question, they can jam it down the legislature and get it passed and send it to the governor's desk. The governor will sign it and it becomes law. But they're playing games with us when it comes to a lot of different issues. Instead of ha 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 coming up with a boating accident bill, how about you do this? How about you sponsor a freaking bill that says, "Hey, you know what? The federal government, federal agencies within the federal government, when they create a rule, we're not going to adhere to that rule unless it's signed by Congress." So that way you can shield the people of Texas from ATF creating a rule to ban something, to say it's something that you own is banned and you have to get it registered and all that stuff. Instead, provide some cover and sponsor a bill like that. And said, you're not going to use our law enforcement. You're not going to use our jails. You're not going to use any of our resources at all to enforce your rule unless Congress creates a law. Congress passes it. It goes to the president. It's signed, and then it becomes law. Then we would adhere to that, but not anything else that comes down from an agency within our federal government. So don't play games with me. Don't play games with the citizens of Texas. Ha ha ha, your boating accident bill is funny, but it's a joke. Let's get real here. This is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talk It.
Hi, this is Stephen Williford, the Barefoot Defender. I get my global gun news from Michael Cargill at Come and Talk It.
The stream. All right. All right. So we're still live on YouTube. We're still live on Facebook and on Twitter as well. And folks, they're playing games with us with this stuff, right? And this, and I want to say, welcome to our new sponsors. If you see just next to my head here, on your right, my left, you see Pacific Office Automation, which is our new sponsor. And Pacific Office Automation they're actually the ones that are providing our security cameras for the gun store. And currently, Central Texas Gunworks is the only gun store that has had several break-in attempts, and no one has actually gotten into the gun store to steal anything, thanks to the security systems and the security cameras that we use. Now we've upgraded to a very sophisticated system where it does facial, we do quite a few different things with that system. And so license plate readers and all that good kind of stuff. And so we monitor everything, track everything, person coming into the parking lot, person in, whatever. And it's all about security, just to keep us from being broken into, to keep things from being stolen, to keep our guns from being used in a crime, out there in the rest of Austin, Texas. And we're trying to do our part for security. I don't want any of my guns being used in a crime, against our great citizens here of Texas. So in the gun store, we're being secure as possible. And so thanks to Pacific Automation, they're providing that to us. And so welcome one of our new sponsors, Pacific Office Automation. There's their website right there. Definitely check them out. If you're on the business and you want to upgrade your security system for your business or even for your home, check out Specific Automation, because now we know that the Austin, Texas, for example, is short almost 300 police officers. Almost 300 police officers. And we're going to lose some more police officers here in the coming month. And so, we're in next week is spring break, which is upon us in South by Southwest. So we'll see what happens there. Less police, more crime.
Welcome back to Come and Talk It. And now here's Michael Cargill.
All right. So like I was telling our people in the live stream there during the break, we have a new sponsor, and it's Specific Office Automation, folks. So they're the ones that provide our security cameras, and they provide a lot of things for your business. And Specific Office Automation, because Central Texas Gun Works is the only gun store in Texas that has had several break-in attempts and no break-ins, because we use a very sophisticated camera system that records very long periods of time, videos that are unlimited storage of video that we can record and keep. And it's all about security, making sure that our guns don't wind up in the hands of the criminals. And so we're the only gun store that's had several break-in attempts and no break-ins, no guns were stolen or taken. All right, so Specific Automation, one of our new sponsors, so definitely check them out, Specific Automation. All right, so I want to talk about teenage criminals in the USA. Teenage criminals. So, man, let me tell you. There was an armed child carjacker, squeals and just, man, I don't know what's going on around the country with parenting and kids. It's, whether it's 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, whatever it is in the morning. And how do you know as parents that your kids are not in the home? And whenever someone shoots one of these monsters, what happens is the parents get on the TV and say, little Johnny, little Billy, Jaquan was a great person. Oh my goodness, why did you have to shoot Jaquan, Johnny, or Billy? And I get sick of hearing that. If you as parents are not going to make sure that you're keeping your kids inside the home and being parents, like you're supposed to be, then I don't feel sorry for you when Jaquan gets shot because they broke into someone's house or tried to rob someone. Like the Taqueria, the restaurant in Houston. The mother gets on, and gives a sobbing story about, the son, because of whatever reasons. It doesn't matter. You walk into a store, you rob people, into a restaurant, you rob them, and then a person who has a concealed handgun stands up and shoots you and stops you and sends you to Jesus. That's what happens when you play games. The more you FO, you're going to find out. All right. So we have a group of teenagers, ages 11 to 14, are just rampantly committing crimes. And they tried to carjack the wrong person. And so they're 11 to 14 years old, and this guy picks up this teenager and slams him to the ground, and he just screams for dear life. And I wonder if we play that video, we can actually hear the audio of him screaming. There's no profanity, but listen to this. That's what happens with your kid if we have to deal with your children because you, as parents, cannot deal with them. We're not going to care about your kids. We're going to send them right on up to the Lord and let the Lord handle this like it should be done. Because today's Sunday, and I'm all about praising the Lord and pass the ammunition. So we're going to send them to Jesus and let Jesus sort it out. because you as parents can't sort it out. So we're going to do it for you. And we're not going to feel sorry because your child, a teenager, acts like a big person and wants to rob someone, break into someone's house, break into their car, steal something from someone. So we're going to handle it. And it's time for law-abiding citizens to start shooting back. Because here we are, once again, in Texas, Austin, Texas, and we're 300 police officers short. We're having more police officers retired, so we're going to be even more short. People are on hold on the 911 system for almost 30 minutes trying to get, a police officer to assist them. And then once they do the phone gets picked up by the 911 dispatcher after 30 minutes, the police officer probably will not even show up because there's not enough officers to respond to all the calls. So, you know what? I'm changing my mindset. They're forcing me in this town to change the mindset. You need to arm yourself and start shooting back is what needs to happen. And send these people straight to Jesus and let the Lord sort it out for them. Because the parents can't sort it out. The parents are not being parents. So we're going to have to take care of it for them. Also, want to talk about Florida fighting to become a constitutional carry state. Man, my hat goes off to Florida. That's my home state where I was born, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. But Florida, they're trying to become a constitutional carry state. So Florida gun owners, they're not fooled by a watered-down carry bill. So they say only 3 states fully prohibit the open carry of firearms by citizens, and I bet you'd be surprised to hear Florida's among them. We thought, and it was funny because Florida and Georgia is always in the tie for who can actually create the craziest, pro-gun laws. But once they had the shooting at Stoneman Douglas, Florida kind of backed off a little bit. And so now they seem to be getting their footing and they want to become a constitutional carry state. So Governor DeSantis is trying to make this his last ditch effort before he runs for president. He wants Florida to become a constitutional carry state. So he can have this, in his belt loop to say, hey, this is what I did for for Florida. This is what I did for Florida. We became a constitutional carry state. So gun owners, maybe they're seeing right through this. I don't know, because they're upset about the type of bill that the governor's trying to pass. They're saying that this is a watered down bill and it's not really a constitutional carry bill. So what someone is saying, who is this? This is one of the gun owners there in Florida. He says, on the other hand, it does go a long way in restoring the rights of our residents and visitors alike to carry arms in public for self-defense without a permit. On the other hand, the bill falls short of every constitutional carry law in the country by quietly omitting the right to carry openly. So our leaders are trying to appease one side and fool the other. And to reemphasize, this bill will keep us in very liberal company. And so,
Yeah, that's not a constitutional carry bill.
yeah, you read it. You read into it.
Well, just looking at that, that's not a constitutional carry bill because you don't have open carry a part of
Correct.
it. What they're trying to do, which I like, and what I actually would rather do, is conceal carry. It's a permitless conceal carry bill.
Right. So that's what they're trying to do: pass a
Yeah.
permitless concealed carry bill.
Yes.
And they don't want open carry. They don't want to see the gun in Florida.
Right.
So he's playing games there. Governor DeSantis is trying to fool you, and he wants to run for president. Is that I don't know. Is that the person you want to run for president? Don't know. And who I've lost my faith in?
Who?
Senator John Cornyn. I kind of lost my faith in him now.
I lost my faith in him a long time ago.
Yeah, well, I tried to hang in there. And, he came out and he actually came out and said that this past week that he's in support of the bump stock ban. So this is our senior senator for Texas.
Texas Republicans for you.
That's right. John Cornyn said he's in support of the bump stock ban. And so even today, and this is 2023. So I got to lose. And now it's time to primary him. Time to get him out. So we need to find a candidate who can, we need to build this person up right now, identify someone, and push this person it's time to primary Senator John Cornyn, for sure.
Really is. A lot of people have tried to in the past, but they've never really gotten that foothold. And this is a huge issue. You're coming out against bump stocks in Texas, and especially after you've already legalized it. You already got this court case passed where they're reintroducing it in Texas.
It's like a slap in the face.
It is. It's absolutely that. And so Texans need to come out. Texas Republicans need to come out against this guy. And we do need to find someone that is, y- you know, but yeah, it's even better than Ted Cruz. I mean, if we could get someone better than that or on that same echelon, that'd be a lot better than John Cornyn. I mean, John Cornyn has been someone that has been on Texas Republicans' nerves for years.
It's time to primary him. Time to get him out. Time to let him go. Thank you. You've done a great job so far, but it's time for us to move on. We need to find someone else.
Don't let the door hit you on the way out.
Don't let the doorknob hit you with a good Lord split you is what I like to say. All right. So, and just like Florida, Florida, the Republicans supposed to be the party of the champions in the Second Amendment, and they hold a supermajority in Florida, but they're pulling this wool over the eyes of the Floridians there, saying, "Hey, we're going to pass a constitutional carry bill," but it really is not a constitutional carry bill.
They do this all the time in various different states. This is an interesting one because usually most states will say, let's do open carry first and then do concealed carry.
Yeah.
This is an interesting one. Maybe it's because of their past with Stoneman Douglas why they would say, let's do concealed carry first and then maybe start working on open carry.
Yeah, we're gonna reach out. I'm gonna reach out to Gun Owners of America there in Florida, and we need to get the inside scoop of what's going on. So we're gonna reach out and get them on the show and kind of break this down for you because I need more detail what's going on there in Florida. Maybe we need to drive to Florida, go to Tallahassee, Jacksonville, Tallahassee, and see what's going on.
Well, constitutional carry is one of the things that Texans did lead on over Floridians. So this is something
constitutional carry, campus carry.
Mm-hmm. This is something we do have a stronghold in Texas.
Yeah, we came out swinging, and so they can't come anywhere close to us now. I think we're doing great. I think we should be we should be above Florida when it comes to one of the pro Second Amendment states.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Georgia, and Georgia's in the news again. So when we come back from the break, I want to talk about the Georgia gun laws weighing on Atlanta's bid to host a 2024 Democratic convention. They're saying, hey, because of the Georgia gun laws, maybe we don't want to go to Atlanta. That's not the truth. The reason they don't want to go to Atlanta is because the crime is so bad. They're trying to pull the wool over your eyes. Don't let them fool you. They don't think you're stupid. They know you're stupid. It's not because of the gun laws. It's because the crime is so bad in Atlanta, Georgia. They figure they're going to get robbed or killed while they're trying to do their convention downtown hot Atlanta. Yeah, we're going to talk about that and more. We come back from the break. This is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talk It.
This is Coley Noir, and you're listening to Come and Talk It with Michael Cargill.
Yeah.
So one of the things I want to come back to as we're when we get back on the air is this bill about the voting act. It's a little bit of a joke, but if you read it, it actually breaks down what we need to do. What really conservatives throughout the country should be doing is nullifying federal gun laws. So it starts off with, oh yeah, this boating accident. But if you get into the meat of the bill, it says, due to this accident, we as Texas would like to nullify all federal gun laws when it comes to accessories, guns within our state. And that's really what we should be doing. I just wish it was a bill to nullify gun laws rather than, a clickbaity attitude, or clickbaity title to it,
Okay. All right. Okay. All right, so I'm sorry, I'm reading you guys' comments here in the comment section. Hopefully, someone in Texas is going to sue the ATF on their determination of force reset triggers. Well, the company, they should do that. I know they're being sued by them in New York, and so they should file a lawsuit against the ATF in Texas for the force reset triggers, what they should do. Don't blow a vessel, Mike. I'm not trying to blow a vessel. I'm keeping calm. I'm on my blood pressure medicine now. Mayor Watson decided to not sign the new police contract, but he is offering a pay raise, but no support from the City Hall. Yeah, it's all smoke and mirrors. They're trying to deflect. We don't. They could give these police officers a 4-year contract, very easily, and also keep them accountable too. Provide them. Hey, we're going to give you a raise. This is the money we're going to give you, and also we're going to keep you accountable. For what you do. They can do all of that if they want to. They're just not. They're not trying. And so what's going to happen is the citizens going to pay. You're going to pay because guess what? Austin has more homicides now than San Francisco. I just want to let that sit with you guys for a while. Austin has more homicides than San Francisco, California. Just sad. Colonel West. I think Colonel West should run for Senator Cornyn's spot. Tell you what. Well, maybe invite him on the show and ask him. He's a friend of mine.
Michael Cargill recruiting candidates over here.
So it's time. It's time to put, knee to chest, boot the butt, kick him out. No, thank you. Your service is no longer required.
Welcome back to Come and Talk It. And now here's Michael Cargill.
All right, so Georgia gun laws are weighing in on Atlanta's bid to host a 2024 Democratic convention. So the battle between Chicago and Atlanta over hosting the 2024 Democratic convention is heating up, with a new claim from Illinois that Georgia's lenient open carry gun laws, already an issue in several public events in Atlanta, could make security a nightmare. And security wouldn't be a nightmare in Chicago? Are you crazy? I wouldn't have an event in Chicago. Are they out of their mind? That's Chicago. Man, we might get shot trying to get to our vehicle.
At least you could shoot back when you have constitutional carry.
You can at least shoot back in Atlanta, but you can't in Chicago.
Yeah.
Right, I know. With the decision possibly weeks away, officials involved agree that Atlanta and Chicago now appear to lead New York. The third of the finalists still under consideration. Now, union officials have for weeks pressed President Biden and the Democratic National Committee to pick the more union-friendly city. Chicago has 45 unionized hotels, while Atlanta just has 2.
Come on, man.
Yeah. But recent events have brought a new argument. Georgia's lenient gun laws could make it extremely difficult to keep firearms away from the delegates.
Enough.
The Secret Service is likely to declare the convention a national security special event. People, listen. This is smoke and mirrors. If we can have the president come to Texas and do an event in Texas with Texas gun laws, I think we have a problem with Georgia.
That is a big statement.
What kind of BS is this? I mean,
it makes no sense.
Yeah, Trump has had tons of rallies in Texas, Georgia, all these places, and they act like they're going to have it in a building, some facility of some sort. You can say that, okay, you can't come into this facility with firearms. I mean, like, they're too scared that their security team can't make sure that happens because of the likelihood of someone carrying one in because they don't know the laws. Or that is such a ridiculous statement.
So the Secret Service is likely to declare the convention a national security special event and supersede state ordinances with its own rules inside a fortified perimeter. But in hotels, and what's wrong with that, by the way?
That's the solution, right?
Yeah.
I mean, would you not want the Secret Service to do that in general, no matter where your president is?
They're going to do that regardless.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to come anywhere close. You're not going to be able to see the president go from a building to his vehicle. That's post-Reagan. You just don't see that anymore.
Right.
So, the Secret Service is going to do that regardless. But in hotels along bus routes and meetings and parties far from the core convention sites, guns could find their way in. Security consultants are warning, especially if Georgia's Republican Governor Brian Kemp holds to his pro-gun views and refuses to intervene. And it just creates a tense environment, according to Charles Ramsey, who has once led police forces in Washington and Philadelphia and now does security consulting. To me, it's an issue. Well, you know what? Do your job, security. If Atlanta wasn't such a bad crime scene all around the town, then people wouldn't have to do that. Georgia Democrats have scoffed at the pitch, the State Farm Arena, which would be one of main sites of the convention should Atlanta win the bid, has protocols in place that prohibit carrying a firearm despite gun laws that allow weapons into most public spaces. So, seems like you can't carry a gun in the convention center. So, I don't know what the problem is.
It's just the left eating themselves. You're not a blue enough state. You're too red. You have too good gun laws to be a Democrat. We're scared.
Oh man. So there's another carjacking, a Texas carjacking here. Suspect pulled a gun on a mother in front of her children and led police on a chase. So this carjacking suspect in Texas, the incident happened in Fort Worth around about 3:30 p.m. on February the 10th in an apartment community. And the Fort Worth Police Department was the police department that chased this guy. The mother was taking her children out of a car when the male suspect approached and held her at gunpoint. Now, the suspect demanded the car, but one of the woman's children was still in the back seat, according to the authorities. Now, the woman pleaded with the suspect to let her remove the child before he allegedly stole her car, and police said the suspect let the mother take the child out of the car before speeding away in the vehicle. Now, police located the stolen vehicle minutes later and began a pursuit. However, the suspect eluded officers and abandoned the vehicle in another apartment complex. And the police released a surveillance video of the suspect running out of the stolen car in the complex's parking lot there. So it's more and more what we're seeing all around the country here. And yeah, violent crime is actually increasing. It's especially I'm looking at spring break is coming up, and I'm curious, how Austin's going to handle spring break in South by Southwest with this officer shortage. So this is going to be we're going to step into spring break in South by Southwest with so many few officers compared to last year. So it's going to be exciting on how they handle things. If all it takes is one major incident in North Austin or downtown somewhere, and then you can just commit crimes all in South Austin and don't have to worry about police responding.
Well, I mean, you and I were speaking about this before we came in. About literally a couple weeks ago, we were saying that some officers were considering going on strike. You said that they retired, and then you saw this huge racing takeover.
Right.
Right.
That happened just like that next weekend.
Yeah, exactly. Literally the next week after we said it on the show. And so this is going to be a test. Have they learned from that mistake where literally they took over the freaking city? North side, south side, downtown.
Well, if it happens in an area where you have $2 million or $1 million homes, then they'll solve the
Oh
problem.
yeah. But the thing
It'll
is,
get fixed.
are they going to learn from their mistake there
Right.
going into these events, or is it going to be a learning experience for the troublemakers to say, oh well, they did it, we can do it too?
Right. We'll see. I don't know. That's a good one there.
Stay tuned. Next season in Austin.
Oh man. Man, this weekend I had a really nice experience with a lot of young people that are getting their license to carry a handgun. You know that?
Really?
Yeah, it was a lot of I ran into quite a few 18, 19, 20-year-olds that are getting their license now.
That's amazing, man.
It really is. It really is. And they were just had questions. They're asking questions, very attentive in class and learning the gun laws and shocked by some of the laws, of course. But I'm glad they're attending course, they're attending the class and getting this information.
I tell you what, any young people that are listening, if you think getting your license or getting training is whack, it is some of the best things you could possibly do, especially for Michael Cargill. I mean, I cannot tell you how many situations that I've seen, that I've observed since getting my license, and it's like you can react one way or another. And if you know what you're doing, if you know how to react in a situation, if you get that training, you're going to be super cool, calm, collective. You're going to know what you're doing and likely avoid getting to any conflict.
Mm.
And that's what we need to be focused on.
Yeah, because it's, man.
So many people, they want to get a firearm so they can know what to do in a conflict. Well, they likely will try to escalate if they don't have that training.
Right.
You want to de-escalate. You do not want to get into a conflict.
That's why I like to show some of the videos that we show and then get the classroom's response to the video.
Exactly.
And I'll let people say some of the craziest things too.
Yeah.
You know, shoot the tires out, shoot the engine block, you know, disable the vehicle by shooting at it.
Well, and that's a huge part of the trade. Just literally like watching some of those videos and reacting and saying, how would you react if this happened to you?
Right. And that's why, like in Arizona, you have that rancher who's in trouble for doing just that. You know, yes, you can exercise your right to protect yourself. You can carry a firearm, yes, but you need to know what the laws are in your state. Because if you don't, you're going to be in trouble when you use that gun. Because how much that bullet going to cost you? I always like to ask the class that. That's a $20,000 bullet because it's going to cost you 20 grand to go to, to get this case to a grand jury, trial or whatever, and just to prove that you were justified in doing what you did. You're looking at spending 20 grand.
Tell you what, that's a huge deterrent for you to want to brandish and pull that trigger. I mean, that's a huge deterrent if you think about it like that. And a lot of people don't think about it like that. They don't know those facts.
Yeah, so we come back. We'll talk about this rancher. He's a Arizona rancher who killed I don't know, how do you say it? Was it illegal immigrant? I know people get upset with terms. I don't care about you getting upset with the things that I say. Illegal immigrant. That's what they are. You can't shoot trespassers. I don't care if they're illegal or legal or what. You can't just shoot trespassers in most states, including Texas. I don't know what the law is in Arizona because I don't live in Arizona. I live in Texas. But you cannot shoot trespassers. So if your ranch is on the border in Texas and someone crosses over, you just can't shoot someone because they're on your property. They have to be doing a little more. They have to be it has to be nighttime and they're committing criminal mischief, or it can be in the daytime and they're trying to either break into your house, break into your car, trying to kill you. Daytime or nighttime, you can use force, a deadly force, to stop them. But it's got to be a little more than just committing criminal trespass. I don't care if you have a gate, you have a wall that surrounds your property. I don't care if someone's in your front yard, in your backyard. We're talking on the property. We're not talking about in the home. I'm talking in the front yard or backyard. On your ranch, on your property, just the mere fact of them being there, you cannot shoot them. You can't point a gun at them. You can't even threaten to shoot them. You can't say, I'm going to blow your head off. You can't say that. Because if you do, you can be charged with aggravated assault or deadly conduct by doing that. So, no, learn what the laws are. Come to a class, take a course, and stop listening to people, some of these people on social media who actually argue with me about these things. Why would you argue with someone who wins court cases?
Yeah, this isn't a Hollywood movie, guys.
It is hilarious. This is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talk It.
Folks, this is Doug Man Jones. And I get my gun news from Michael Cargill at Come and Talk It.
All right, guys. So what do you guys want to talk about? Because I'm open in the YouTube there chat. Thomas, what do you want to talk about? Yoder, what are you going to talk about? Johnny, what do you want to talk about? Poor man's machine gun. What do you guys want to talk about? And we'll talk about it. We'll discuss it. We come back from the break. Can you play that new lawsuit video? Yes. FRTs. Talk about FRTs. All right, so somebody said they want to talk about FRTs. So do me a favor, call into the show. The call in number is 512-643-5483. That's 512-643-5483. I'll put it in the chat for you. All right, and another thing we're going to start doing in the gun store, Central Texas Gun Works, we're going to start offering 30 days free for new Texas Law Shield members. Tell you about that later on. Also, we're going to have an attorney come down to Central Texas Gun Works also and talk to us about things that are going on with new laws and court cases and stuff.
Welcome back to Come and Talk It. And now here's Michael Cargill.
All right, so yeah, C&T Designs and Arms. Give me a call. 512-643-5483 is our call-in number. You got something you want to talk about? You want something you want to get off your chest? Let me know. Just don't use profanity. Our call-in number is 512-643-5483. Give me a call. Tell me, what do you think about this boating accident that one of our elected officials here in Texas is talking about? And you were talking about that boating accident, and you're looking into the bill there. Give me some more insight on what this bill says.
Yeah, so I mean, everyone's focusing on the joke, which again, like in Texas, it's hard to get anything done with Texas Republicans. So I don't necessarily blame Slayton. I like the guy, know the guy, but I wish we were getting to the meat of what this bill says, and I wish it was just a clean bill. What the bill says, if you look into it, is due to the boating accident, right? Due to the joke, right? Due to the boating accident, we as Texas would like to nullify all federal laws when it comes to firearms, accessories, anything else, right? And this is what we should be doing. Conservatives, Republicans, individualists across this country should be nullifying federal laws when it comes to everything, right? Not just guns, but anything and everything, so that way we can take the power back at the state level. But when it comes to guns, I mean, that's one of the best things that we can do. Just declare ourselves sanctuary for the Second Amendment and say we're just going to nullify and not recognize any of these gun laws coming from the federal government.
Right. Yeah, and they're in control. They control the House, they control the Senate, and so they control and the the governor's mansion here in Texas, so they can get done whatever they want to get done. There's no limit. And even in Florida, the same way.
But these Republicans, they don't want to.
Right.
Like even some of the good ones, like Slayton is a good one of the few. But even the good ones, they can't get anything done because their colleagues don't want to step up and actually take a stance for the Second Amendment.
Right.
It took decades for us to get constitutional carry passed.
I was told this week, that there's no appetite, for any pro gun legislation at all in this session because of the school shooting. So they're they're not looking at passing any pro-gun legislation at all, because there's some things, there's some cleanup stuff that I'm trying to get fixed in the Texas law.
Well, let me tell you a little dirty little secret, Michael. A lot of some of these pro-gun organizations, once they don't want the laws to get passed, because once they pass these laws, like constitutional carry is a perfect example. Now that constitutional carry is passed, we've saw some shootings, whatnot. They don't have any appetite to pass anything else because they've already passed constitutional carry. Some of these orgs, they don't care about passing a clean constitutional carry bill. They're fine with totally fine with that Florida bill we were talking about earlier. They're totally fine with passing a watered down constitutional carry bill, so that way they can go back a year, 2 years from now, depending on your state,
and
they
change
can
one thing here,
and
one
change
thing there.
exactly. They can keep fundraising, they can keep their jobs, and they can keep on working on this issue that they don't really care about passing. They just want to get incremental support so they can keep their money flowing.
Right.
So you have to be really critical about some of these groups that you're giving your money to.
Yeah. Yeah, it's and we saw this with even the NRA back when the bump stock ban happened under the Trump administration, by the way, and that was a Republican president, Republican Senate, Republican House, just so you know, who opened the door for the ATF to walk into your home and start confiscating gun parts. It started on the Republican leadership. And now, look at what they're doing on a Democratic leadership. So they're the blame for this because it's starting on their watch.
Yeah.
And that's why I like to, I slap everybody around. I don't care what party you're in, because if you're wrong, you're wrong, and if you're coming after, you come after my gun parts, you come after my firearms, my job is to put my foot on your throat. And that's what we're going to do. I don't care if you're a Republican. I don't care if you're a Democrat. I don't care if you're a Libertarian. I don't care if you're the Green Party. If you're coming, because to me, and you sent me this, you tagged me in this Jon Stewart piece.
Yeah.
Tell us what
I'm
that was
sure
about.
everybody knows what this is about. So yeah, the Jon Stewart piece, essentially they brought in a state senator from Oklahoma.
I don't know if we can even find
Nathan
that and
Dahm,
actually play that.
Right.
Jon Stewart. It was on. Man, how can you find that? Jon Stewart. What's the name of his show? What's the name of his show? It's called the.
It shouldn't be hard to find. It's on Apple TV.
What's the name of the show? The name of the show?
Let me see.
Yeah. So Jon Stewart. Yeah, because he has this show now.
Literally, if you just Nathan Dahm, Jon Stewart is the first thing that pops up on YouTube.
What's the guy's name?
It's The Problem with Jon Stewart.
The Problem with Jon Stewart.
Problem with Jon Stewart.
The Problem with Jon Stewart.
And
okay.
this is like this.
And he's talking because he's talking with a state representative or state senator.
State senator of Oklahoma.
State senator of Oklahoma, and the guy's name is
Nathan Dahm.
Nathan Dahm.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
Yeah. And so, look, this show is terrible anyways. Like, I mean, I grew up on The Daily Show and actually appreciating some of the stuff that Jon Stewart would bring in. He'd talk about Republican Representative Ron Paul. Mm-hmm. He was one of the only persons that would actually do it when Republicans wouldn't do it.
Right.
And Rand Paul and many others. But now, if you look at this new program on Apple TV, I believe it is, he literally brings in Republicans. He cuts up these interviews. He asks them some of the dumbest questions and then frames it if, they answered it in a stupid way. And so, I mean, I would say, I think there's a clear reason why he wouldn't talk to someone like Michael Cargill, because you'd rip him to shreds. But honestly, who knows? He might cut up your interview and try to make you look like a fool too, because that is what this whole show is all about. It's not about trying to get to a nuanced conversation and understanding people and trying to find a solution.
I wonder if you have part of that clip. Yeah, let's listen to a little bit of this and see how this interview goes, and I'll make some comments on the other end.
I'm a strong proponent of the Second Amendment. I believe the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That's the one right that's listed in the Constitution that uses that very specific affirmative language, shall not be infringed.
It's also the one right that uses the phrase well-regulated.
Correct, when it's talking about the militia and the state.
By the way, just for clarity's sake, I'm not against the Second Amendment. I don't want to ban guns. But you're saying more guns makes us more safe.
Yes.
So when we got 400 million guns in the country, we had an increase and gun deaths went up. So when exactly does this curve hit that takes it down? Would 1 billion guns do it?
Let's just run those numbers, 400 million, 50,000. You're talking about less than a fraction of not even 1%, of 100th of a percent.
But it goes up, not down. So your argument is backwards.
But if you want, okay, so let's come up with a solution. Okay, so one of the issues, a contributing factor, again, I believe it's the individual that is the problem.
So your solution to that is give them more guns.
So I'm saying that because people are the problem, we need to look at the problems that those people are facing and how do we address it.
But you've removed the ability for the state to do that.
No, because you're...
If you don't have background checks and you don't have registration and permitting, how do you know who has a problem in terms of the people who you're giving a gun to?
Do you want to talk about the background checks first, or do you want to talk about solutions first?
I want to talk about what you're doing is you're bringing chaos to order.
That's your subjective opinion, that it's bringing chaos to order.
It's not my subjective opinion. We have 50,000 gun-related deaths. That's not a subjective opinion.
Okay, so
that's dead people. Let me back up for a second. In every other place in your life, you want to bring order, but guns are the outlier for you. So let's start with immigration. You want registration, maybe a wall, maybe not a wall. Why do you want that?
Well, one of the reasons is because the fentanyl crisis.
Right.
I mean, okay, but...
you don't know when it's coming across. So what do you do?
But the fentanyl crisis is twice what the gun death crisis is.
Okay, so until the gun crisis gets to the fentanyl level...
Not until it...
You don't want to bring order.
No, not until it... But
do you see my point?
If we're going to talk about protecting lives, that's a larger issue in America than guns is. If we're talking about individual lives of ways that they can be protected, loss of life in America, there's loss of life through fentanyl. There's loss of life through obesity. The obesity crisis in America costs 6 times the number of lives as guns.
Right, and so, you're the guy saying, you know what would help this? Ice cream.
No. So, you know what would help the problem that we're facing with firearms?
What?
The fatherlessness crisis that we have in America. If you look at the statistics...
Right. Yeah, they're dying from gun deaths.
80% of school shooters either came from a broken or fatherless home.
So you would say no guns for fatherless homes?
No, that's not what I would say. I would say that fathers need to be more engaged.
Great. So let's
with a firearm if they don't have a father in the home.
Let's put more resources into areas that are poverty-stricken. All for it.
And into fatherlessness, and that's something that we're doing in Oklahoma.
Why, with guns, are you against bringing order?
I'm not against bringing order.
You are. You're also making it less safe for cops and for people. When the police go to a domestic call, it's the most dangerous call they can go on. In your world, if they knew that there were firearms in the house, that's a safer call. Is that what you're saying?
No, because police...
Because why?
Because police treat every situation as a potential...
But more guns makes us safer. So why don't, when the police go to a house filled with guns, why don't they breathe a sigh of relief knowing that this Second Amendment that shall not be infringed is being exercised so fruitfully in this home?
Are you familiar with the 39-year-old woman in New Jersey?
I'm familiar with a ton of anecdotes. I'm asking you a simple question.
This is not an anecdote,
When
John.
the police
actually
go to a house...
She had a restraining order on her ex-boyfriend.
We'll catch this on the other side after the break. This is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talk It.
Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Jack Jones here, and I get my gun news from Michael Cargill on Come and Talk It.
All right, what do you guys think about that so far?
You're going to make me bust a blood vessel over
You
here,
too?
Mike.
What do you think? What do you think?
Oh my goodness, this guy. I mean, see, this is the problem. John Stewart frames the argument, and then Nathan just walked right into it. Right? He starts switching issue. With first, the argument is order versus chaos. That's a terrible, conversation to get in. It's not gun rights is not order versus chaos. That's not how this works. Second, he starts going into other issues, which is almost oddly enough like a libertarian type of argument: liberty versus authority, order versus chaos, right? Which one is it? In this issue, you want to register all people going across the borders. I mean, he should have stuck to the issue, made his argument, and not bought into the way that John Stewart was framing it.
Right.
And then plus, I mean, look, again, I'm sure Nathan, probably knows what he's talking about here, but there are certain things where he obviously was, the fatherless in the home. It seems like John Stewart was cutting up this interview. I mean, you could even see some of the shots where obviously, they were from the back, but that was also, it seemed like maybe where a cut was happening. Oh, what is your answer to this? Cut. Here's my answer. So it's just disingenuous, man. And then he gets people that where he can frame the arguments, and these Republicans just follow the logic, and they should be making their own arguments, framing their own logic in their arguments.
Okay. All right. When we come back from the break, I'm going to listen a little bit more of it, and I'll tell you what my thoughts are.
You gotta love it when he's like, "Oh, the cops should feel safe, because there's no guns." It's like, aren't you the guy that's always talking about police brutality? Do you not want people to have a firearm in their own, so that way maybe the cops don't put their hand on the gun and don't pull it? Like, what kind of logic is he using here?
And Thomas is reading my mind.
Welcome back to Come and Talk It. And now here's Michael Cargill.
All right, so we're listening to the Jon Stewart interview. What's the name of that show again? It's called
The Problem.
The Problem. Okay.
It is a problem.
It is a problem. It is the problem with Jon Stewart.
Here's the problem with Jon Stewart.
Here's the problem right here, folks. I'm telling you now. All right, so let's go back into this. Let's listen to a little bit more.
I know, hundreds and hundreds of examples of women killed by their domestic partners by guns that were not taken away through the lessening of red flag laws. You're pivoting to anecdotes.
No, this is not anecdotes.
What the police say, if we had gun registration, if we were able to track purchases, they have a technology that every bullet would be stamped with an individual like a fingerprint. If we had an ATF that wasn't defunded, we would be able to enforce gun laws more effectively, and we would be able to solve gun crimes more effectively. You're against all of that.
Because the person is the threat, not the firearm, not the knife.
I get it.
The person and the individual is the one that is the concern here.
But you don't want anything that could help law enforcement or society determine whether or not a person is a good guy with a gun or a bad guy with a gun.
Even
the
law
registry
enforcement
would allow you to have much more effective background checks. So I don't understand why you won't just admit that you are making it harder for police to manage the streets by allowing all of these guns to go out without permits, without checks, and without background stuff. Why is that hard? Why can't you just stand by that?
Because that's not what I'm doing. I'm defending the individual's right to keep and bear arms.
That's a different argument.
Okay, but
you may do. Here's what I'm saying. You want to say I'm a Second Amendment purist and I'm making it safer. You're not. You're making it more chaotic, and that's not a matter of opinion. That's the truth.
That is a matter of opinion, John.
But why take away their tools?
Because certain of their tools that they're using would be infringements upon the people's right to keep and bear arms, upon their constitutional rights, upon due process, upon other things.
That registering is an infringement?
Yes.
Okay. Is voting a right?
It's a right for citizens, yes.
Do you have to do anything to do it?
Yes.
What do you have to do?
It depends on the state.
What do you have to do?
Sometimes you have to be at least 18 years old.
What do you have to do?
And in some places you have to have a government-issued ID.
What do you have to? You have to
be on the voter rolls?
Register. You have to register.
You gotta admit that was good.
So you have to register to a right. Is that an infringement?
Shall not be infringed.
Shall not be infringed?
Oh, so this is just a
shall not be infringed.
You believe voting rights can be infringed because it doesn't say specifically shall not be infringed.
Is it an infringement upon a 17-year-old's right to vote, since they don't have that right to vote?
No.
You can
it's not infringement on them?
You don't like it, change the Constitution.
Because you're the one making the argument, not me. I'm saying even rights have responsibilities, and that within those responsibilities are responsibilities and order. Otherwise, it's chaotic. I'll go you one further. You want to ban drag show readings to children.
To minors, yes.
Why?
Why?
What are you protecting?
Why can we prohibit children from voting, those under 18 from voting?
Why are you banning
that?
Is that free speech? Are you infringing on that performer's free speech?
They can continue to exercise their free speech, just not in front of a child.
Why?
Because the government does have a responsibility to protect.
I'm sorry?
The government does have a responsibility in certain instances to protect children.
What's the leading cause of death amongst children in this country? And I'm going to give you a hint. It's not drag show readings to children.
You walked into that one.
He did.
So what is it?
I'm presuming you're going to say it's firearms.
No, I'm not going to say it like it's an opinion. That's what it is. It's firearms. More than cancer, more than car accidents. And what you're telling me is you don't mind infringing free speech to protect children from this amorphous thing that you think of. But when it comes to children that have died, you don't give a flying fuck to stop that because that
that's the
shall
one
not
he
be
said. I
infringed.
apologize.
That is hypocrisy at its highest order.
All right. Yeah, that's the end of that. All right, so, man, that's a lot there. A lot to dissect there.
I mean, he kept on going. Like that's. I mean, if you see what I was saying during the break, what he was doing was he's framing this argument, chaos versus order, and Nathan walked right into it. Nathan should have made his own argument rather than following John's circular logic. And maybe my logic's a little off here, but he's talking about kids. What are we going to do with kids? We regulate kids more. I mean, they can't buy firearms, right? So maybe do something with the schools, right? But all that Stewart wants to do is say, get registered. Make sure that you know who the difference is between a good guy and a gun and a bad guy.
You have to listen to someone when they say, I don't want to ban guns, but listen to that but. And then they use the term universal background checks. Just think about that. Think about that. Universal background checks. That's very dangerous. And I'm going to tell you why. So we just had a court case in Texas where some teenagers took the state of Texas to court for their right to carry a gun in Texas. So now, as a result of that case, because they won, 18, 19, 20-year-olds can constitutional carry, and they can get their license. But here's the problem. State law has not changed. There's currently no bill to fix the law because the law still says that, you have to be 21, to constitutionally carry. So some police departments are saying, guess what? We don't care what this court case says. Dallas police departments come out and said this. Some smaller police departments in the state have come out and said this. We don't care what this court case says. If an 18, 19, 20-year-old does something, we reserve the right to arrest them. And guess what? We will arrest them, put them in jail. And then guess what? They're going to have to hire an attorney, bail out of jail. And they're looking at spending $10,000 to get that case dropped or dismissed, quoting this case here in December. That, took place.
If they don't have a license,
right? This is without a license.
Yeah.
Now, DPS has released a letter to say, hey, to all law enforcement agencies that guess what? They're issuing licenses to carry handgun to 18, 19, 20-year-olds. They're issuing a license to them, and so they have to follow that. So they acknowledge the license, but they don't have to acknowledge the constitutional carry aspects of it. And they're choosing not to do that. So it's a trap. If I was a black teenager, 18, 19, and 20, there's no way in the world I would carry a gun in this state at all. I would go ahead and get the license.
Yeah, get a license.
Exactly. So when they say universal background checks, take a listen to this. Well, guess in order for you to purchase a gun from a gun store, you have to be, a handgun. Let me correct that. To purchase a handgun from a gun store, you have to be 21 years of age or up. Got to be 21 to purchase that handgun. All right. So now that you can, at 18, 19, 20 years old, you can get your license carry handgun. You can carry the handgun. You still cannot purchase that handgun from a gun store until you turn 21. So the only way you can get that gun is a private sale as a gift. If you pass universal background checks, that means that all sales and transfer of firearms have to be done in a gun store. That would mean that gun stores got to be 21. So that would take the ability for 18, 19, 20 years old to not to even be able to get their hands on the gun. They can have a license, but they won't be able to get the gun because they pass universal background checks.
You know what this is going to do? It's going to force these people and average people, not just kids, but especially kids, to go in the black market. I mean, especially how it is now. If you're an 18, 19-year-old and you could go buy a gun in a gun store, that is a lot better. And because they're going to give you some sort of background check.
Correct.
It's a lot better than saying, well, if you're 18, 19 years old, you have to have someone else buy the gun for you.
Yeah. And gun stores are governed by the federal government, so they have to follow federal law. So that's why the handgun transfer is 21 years of age.
Right.
So long guns, rifles, or shotguns is 18. You can buy
Exactly.
an AR-15 from a gun store at 18, but for a handgun, got to be 21.
Right, but if you cut off access to this,
Mhm.
this is almost like the war on drugs in many ways.
Mhm.
People are going to go to the black market.
Correct. Yes.
I mean, you and I've already talked. I don't really want. I think you might have said it on air, but I don't. I don't want to say how. But many kids in Austin are getting their hands on guns in crazy ways.
That is correct.
And it's not because someone's giving it to them. Not because someone's buying it from a gun store. It's not because any of that.
Right.
It's crazy just how these kids are doing this, and it's all done on the black market.
And so John Stewart wants to create more laws. And whenever you create more gun laws, who do these gun laws affect? Anybody?
Legal gun owners.
They're going to affect the black and brown community because those are the people that are actually locked up in prison.
You're right.
When you look at the numbers. And so the more gun laws you create, the more black and brown people are going to, police are going to use this as a tool to lock up more black and brown people. And that's what's going to happen. So.
And when you see a gun, it's going to make you want to shoot them. I mean, yeah, I mean, that's the other thing about Jon Stewart's logic is he's over here sounding more like a right winger than a left winger. Like he's like, oh, well, the cops, you got to make sure the cops. It's like, you want the cops to be comfortable walking into someone's house, putting their hand on their gun and being able to use it. No, I think individuals should be armed so that way these cops are less likely to pull their firearm, less likely to escalate this.
Right. Yeah. So that's my take on all that stuff. And it's very dangerous when you let these people talk about these universal background checks. You let why would I? People ask me, why do you lean to the conservative to Republicans? I lean that way because I don't like the other side. I don't like the other party, the Democrat Party, because they're the party that want to enslave. Can't forget history. They're the party that want you to abort your children and try to convince you to abort your kids. So, man, with all they're the party that want to disarm you. They don't want you to have access to firearms. So, why would I join a party that is trying to annihilate my entire race? And that's how I look at it. I call it like I see it. Don't call me. Don't text me. Don't email me. That's exactly what I said. I said what I said.
Where's the mic when you need to drop it?
And that's the bottom line. So that's why I'm not part of the Democratic Party. They're trying to annihilate an entire race of people. They want you to abort your kids, disarm you. This is insane. No, thank you. Have a nice day. You're dismissed. This is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talk It.